we get all in, I'm going to win that hand, win the pot, and 44% of the time I'm going to lose that. So obviously that's I'm happy to get all the money in there against that exact hand of Ace King, because in the long run I'm going to be winning 56% of the time. Now, taking that one step further, when I want to decide, well, did I make the right play there? I can't just think about, well, what was his actual hand and be results oriented based on what happened or what his hand was. Because, like I said, even if he had pocket kings there, I don't think I would have been happy to get the money in, because I'm not thinking about what actual hand he ended up having. I'm thinking about, well, what are the potential hands he would take that course of action with. So I'll give you a little flavor of sort of how we would analyze those situations there. And I don't want to get too in detail at this point, because I cover it in a lot of various videos throughout the site that you'll watch. But we can do some sort of equity calculations with a simple program. It's free. It's called PokerStove. You can download it at pokerstove.com. And you can see how various hands, if I put player 1, I'm going to say he had ace king offsuit, right? So I select ace king. And then player 2, which I'll say was myself, I had pocket queens. I'm just going to fold for now because I want to get into PokerStove. And then I can evaluate what my percentage is in this hand. So as we see down here, let me fold there. As you see down here, if I run the simulation, it'll look at all the various flop combinations, flop turn river combinations that could potentially run out, and you'll see that 57% of the time, which is my equity in the hand, pocket queens will win, whereas 42% of the time, the ace king will win, right? So I can see from this program, and you could do, if you want to do the math, like all the combination permutations of the flop, that's basically what the program is doing, is running out all the permutations of the flop based on the 50 cards that are remaining in the deck, right? So I can use this program to sort of look at what my equity is in that pot. And so when I see whether I want to get all in, given that I have a greater than 50% chance of winning, I think that's great. Now, I'm going to go ahead and fold pocket threes here. Now, like I was elaborating on, is I'm not really, like, this is just for interest's sake how I stacked up in that actual hand, but I'm not really interested in his one specific hand he had. I want to think about what potential hands he would take that course of action with, right? So I can assign a range of hands. Let's play pretty conservative. Let's say he's a pretty straightforward player. He'd be getting all in there with pocket jacks, pocket queens, pocket kings, pocket aces, and we'll say ace king, right? Which is a pretty narrow range, a pretty solid hand range, right? And now I can assign that to his hand range against my pocket queens, and I can run the simulation again and see how my hand stacks up against that. And I'll just play this hand out real quick. I was in the big blind and I checked here. So I'm going to go ahead and bet. I have a flush draw. You notice there's two, and when we're talking about drawing hands, if there's one card in the deck to make a made hand, such as there where I need any other diamond would have given me a flush, that's called a draw. So I was drawing there to a flush. So I bet that out as sort of a semi-bluff, meaning that I don't have a made hand at that point. I have pretty much 8 high, but it's called a semi-bluff because any diamond on the turn or river would improve my hand into a strong made hand, being a flush. So I am bluffing, but it's called semi-bluff because there are still cards that could improve me to the best hand. And that's a concept I'll discuss, or I have discussed in many of the videos on the site, so you'll get a flavor for when are opportunistic semi-bluffing spots where you have strong draws, such as having a flush draw, or perhaps like a straight draw, that sort of thing. Straight draw being where there's 4 cards, you have 4 cards to a straight, and you're waiting for that 5th card to make that straight in your hand. So anyway, coming back to this equity calculation here, we see that my pocket queens against a range of pocket jacks or better, or ace king, is about a 47% favorite. So it's just slightly less than half. So you might say, well, then that you should fold. But in determining like whether it's a profitable call or not, we want to think about what money is already in the pot that I'm risking. So this comes down to pot odds, And this is another thing that needs to be elaborated on much further in terms of how to calculate pot odds. But we saw in that hand, I had already risked or invested, I think I raised up to 20 cents pre-flop. We got a call from Paf Kata for another 20 cents, and then Master Putter raised it up to 75 cents. Now he could be doing that on a bluff. Now once I raise it up to 180 and he goes all in, I'm only risking another 320 to win a pot of, well, I had 180 plus his $5 plus Paf Kata's 20 cents. So I'm risking 320 to win a pot of $5 plus 180, so 680, so $7. So if I'm risking 320 to win a pot of $7, I only have to be good or have an equity of a little more than 33%, right? Just from a pot odds point of view. So since I have an equity of 47%, it's definitely a profitable call there to call his all-in push. Now I've written some articles that, and it'll take a little more. It's probably not easiest to learn from just a verbal explanation of pot odds, and it'll take a lot of practice and a lot of thinking about if you're new to the game. But I suggest you read some of the articles on Outstanding Poker, or we do some pot odds calculations and determining when you have proper pot odds to call or when you don't, and how to calculate pot odds and that sort of thing. But that's just sort of, we'll give you a flavor of what we're thinking about when determine, well, whether it's a profitable call or not, and that sort of thing. So that's just a little flavor of just a pretty straightforward hand there of getting involved. The last thing I want to cover in this opening video is raise bet sizing. If you're new to poker and you're like, well, what do I bet? How much to bet? And if you've been watching, you'll notice if I'm opening pre-flop, I'm usually raising to about 3 to 4 times the big blind. So the big blind's 5 cents. So in this case, I'll raise to 15 or 20 cents. You probably can't go wrong if you're raising at the micro stakes, raising to about 4 times the big blind when you're coming in. The reason you want to raise that much and not limp meaning you just call the big blind amount, strongly suggests you never be limping. If you're coming into a pot, come in raising, or perhaps, if you're coming into an unopened pot meaning no one has limped or raised at that point. I definitely do not open limp, meaning, like I said, if you're the first in the pot, make sure you're coming in raising with your hands. And there's many reasons for that. One, you don't want to let everyone in the pot and have a multi-way pot post-flop. And two, you might want to just have a marginal hand on the button. You might want to just steal the blinds there and be happy just to take the money down at that point. And three, you want to start building the pot with your strong hands. So you want to start getting the money in the pot and building it so that if you do flop a strong hand, you'll be able to grow the pot easier on each successive post-flop street. And another reason, like if you're raising, you're representing that you have a strong hand. So then you can perhaps throw out some bluffs or continuation bets on the flop. Continuation bet being you raise pre-flop and then the flop comes, and regardless of whether you hit the flop or not, i.e. make a pair or better, you throw out another bet because you're relying on your opponent to make a pair then, because if they don't have a pair or anything, they'll likely fold. So that's the reason why we want to be raising when we're entering pots. And obviously I can elaborate much further, but just to give you a little flavor right now, that's one of the main reasons why you, or some of the main reasons why you want to be raising when you're getting involved. So and like I said, when you're coming in, raise about 4 times the big blind is a good amount. And when you're betting post flop, say you've made top pair, and determining when to bet or when to not, well, like I said at the beginning of the video, are you going to get a worse hand to call, or are you going to make a better hand fold? I'd probably start out by mainly not bluffing so much if you're just totally new to the game, as opposed to just trying to get value for your made hands. Bluffing is a little bit more tricky because you got to start thinking about what's your opponent holding and how do they hit the different flops and how likely are they to continue on. So I'd focus more on just value betting if you're just starting out. Value betting meaning you think you have the best hand and you want to get value for it. Cases where you do that is where maybe you have the top pair on the flop. So maybe you have ace jack and the flop's jack 4-2. with a flush draw perhaps, and you think, well, it's pretty likely I have the best hand because I have the top pair on the board, I have the top kicker, so even if my opponent also has a pair of jacks, I'm going to win the pot because my kicker is better than him. Or he might have middle pair, meaning he might have ace four for a pair of fours, or he might have a pocket pair of pocket eights or something like that. So in that case, I'd probably bet for value, or overcards like I've mentioned before. I'd bet for value. If I flop middle pair, say I have like ace 8 and the flop is like 10-8 deuce, I might bet, I might check. Like my hand's pretty marginal. I'd be happy to get to showdown, but I'm not happy to super like inflate the pot at that point. If I haven't hit any pair, I'm not too happy. So unless I'm up against one opponent and I have position on them, I probably wouldn't bet. Except for, like I said, a continuation bet. If you have position on your opponent, it's a dry board, and they haven't likely hit it, you can often get away with a continuation bet bluff where they'll just fold, and it's pretty profitable. Now, in terms of how large to size your bets post-flop, I'd bet about 3/4 to full size of the pot, so the amount of money in the middle. So say the pot in the middle is 30 cents. If I decide I think I have the best hand and I want to get value, I'd bet close to 30 cents, probably 25 or 30 cents on every street. So say they call my flop bet and I have 30 cents and now the pot's 90 cents, right? 30 cents in the pot and then my 30-cent bet and his 30-cent bet go in the middle. So the pot on the turn is now 90 cents. And I still decide I have the best hand, I want to get value for it. I'd bet, again, close to pot size. So if the pot's 90 cents, I'd probably bet about 80 to 90 cents again. And so that's sort of just a really rough guideline if you're just getting started. So I'm gonna call it a video there. I hope you guys got something out of it. And if you have any questions, feel free. The forums or blog posts or any sort of thing, I'm happy to help. Or all our various community members are as well. And just I hope you guys dive right into the videos. And if you're really new to the game, like there's nothing wrong with just practicing with play money to start out. All the sites will allow it, and just practice with play money and just get a feel for how often you're hitting certain sorts of hands and how often hands are coming on the flop, and just try to beat the play money games. They'll play differently than the real money games because people don't ever have real incentive to fold, right? They're not risking any money. They don't like to fold. So it's not exactly the same as a real money game where there's incentives in terms of monetary amounts to play the game a little bit differently. But if there's nothing wrong with just getting a feel for the game, playing play money, or then if you want to deposit like maybe $50 or $25 or something, and just start playing the micro stakes, play 1 penny, 2 penny, and try to build your bankroll from there. I mean, I started out just depositing back like 5 years ago. I just deposited $50 on I think I started on PokerStars, and I've grown my entire bankroll from that $50. So you don't need to start with a lot of money, and it'll you can just start at the micro stakes and go from there. So I'll go through this hand here. I believe I raised pre-flop with ace-9, which is a marginal raise because my kicker's not that great. Now he leads into me. I'm going to go ahead and bet about the size of the pot, so 40 cents. The pot being 33 cents plus 10 cents, right? So that's why I bet about 40 cents because I think he'll either call me when it comes back to, is a worse hand going to call my raise? I think, yeah, either a worse ace or maybe someone with a pair of eights there might call. So I want to start getting value for that hand. So anyway, I'm going to call it a video there, and I hope you guys have learned a lot. Like I said, keep watching the videos, and if you don't have an account yet, you can sign up for some of the bonus deals we have on our website through our Rakeback site. And Rakeback being where you can get a percentage of the money you put in each pot, all the rake you pay through your one pots, get that paid back to you by the poker site. So we have offers at all the various poker rooms. You can learn a lot more about it just by going to our Rakeback site at Outstanding Poker, learn what Rakeback is and how you set up an account at whatever site you choose. And that's about it. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned a lot. And I look forward to your feedback. This is Tim, Attitude2 for OutstandingPoker.com.